Guys, check out our new headsets. Okay, we had some major audio, video issues last week, but we really think we have them under wraps for this week. So hopefully this week is so
Okay,
much
we had
better.
some major audio.
And we forgot to turn off the mic, so there's some
So maybe
more
not.
audio stuff.
Hey,
Yeah,
if
more.
you're tech savvy,
Doug,
we would
Doug,
love your help.
Doug, we need you to come
There
over
is
here and
no
check
Doug.
this out.
Doug is fake.
But Doug he's like
He's our man.
he's
in
a
our
figment
dreams.
of our imagination, and he helps
If
us.
we could have a dog in real life, it would be super cool.
I'm pretty sure we can't afford Doug.
We can't afford dogs.
So, until some advertising dollars come in, I think this is just
That's all
me and you.
this is.
Yeah, be careful. So, what week of football is this, and what week of?
We are headed into week 7.
Okay, good.
Which means week 4 of our podcast.
Yeah.
Fourth
Well,
episode.
well, welcome.
So hopefully we got everything, under wraps. We are back at Three Nations Brewing again, and they are just the best hosts. And if you come out, there is good beer, there's pretzels, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's TV
There's
to watch
us.
soccer games tonight.
There's pizza from
Sean brought
Joe's,
pizza
and
today.
Sean
He's
is the man. He helps me get set up every week.
Every
Were
Tuesday.
you here the first week?
Okay, Tuesday.
Yeah. Hey, Sean is.
It's loyal.
We're gonna have a special gift for Sean at the end of the season. So he's
Well, hey.
he's been here through and through, even through the monsoon last week.
Oh my gosh, that was crazy.
First thing first, I just really want to talk about what happened at Texas Tech. And our prayers and our thoughts go out to
Yeah.
the families affected, and definitely the student body that is mourning today. Violence should not have a place in our world, and unfortunately, it hit closer to home more often than not. And we just wanted to give our prayers and thoughts to our Texas Tech friends and family today.
Yeah, absolutely. Other than that, jumping into our black and white segment this week, we are 2 weeks away to the date of the first college football playoff rankings coming out. So, in light of that, we wanted to talk about the one-loss teams so far and one and done. Is that a real thing? Does it apply? And which teams do we think that are going to be affected by their one loss, and which teams have enough momentum and big enough games to kind of turn the tide and not make that one loss count for anything? So, obviously, in the Big 12, we are coming off Oklahoma losing at home to Iowa State, their first loss of the season. They were 31 points favored in this game, and sure enough, they come away with a loss.
The thing about Oklahoma is, they have a really good football team. They beat a Ohio State team early in the year that was, playing some good ball. And obviously, what Urban Meyer will put on the field. Ohio State didn't have a quarterback early in the year, and that kind of helped Oklahoma get some momentum. And then Baker Mayfield, he's a Heisman candidate for a certain reason, and he went up there and had a Heisman showing, and that's very tough to stop. The fact is, I think they were like a 35-point favorite to win this game. Iowa State didn't have their starting quarterback. He left after a horrible game against Texas, I believe 2 weeks ago, and they went to a backup quarterback, and also former quarterback Joel Lanning that we'll talk about later in our show. Oklahoma has to do some things to be able to not only start fast. They started really fast against Baylor, 14-0 within the first 5 minutes. And then they just never really clicked again. Yeah, they scored 49 points. A lot of those are big plays. But utilize that run game. They have a three-headed monster in the 3 running backs they have. They have Baker Mayfield who can stretch the field with his arm and also run sideline to sideline. But late in the game, they struggle to find the offense against Iowa State. And, when you're playing these teams that you're supposed to win, it's hard to get that enthusiasm, the energy to say, hey, let's go out here and win a game.
Right.
Iowa State came to play, and they won a game. And kudos to Iowa State. We'll see what Oklahoma has to do the rest of the year to position themselves
Well,
for
and
the
they
playoff.
still have, they still play TCU, and, they have some big games, especially now that with their loss, TCU is really taking the momentum in the Big 12. So winning that game, could be big for OU, but I don't know if they have enough to get back up into a playoff spot.
So, as we know, it's hard to go undefeated in college football. Oklahoma they're still in the playoff race.
Right.
Any team in the top 20 is in the playoff race that only has one loss. That's a Power 5 team. The fact of the matter is that they don't control their own destiny anymore, and they're going to need some outside help. They're going to need someone else to get beat to be able to, secure their opportunity to go to the playoffs. And they got a big game this weekend against Texas, which I know we'll talk about later on in this show as well. But Texas and TCU are technically tied for Big 12 leaders in the Big 12 right now. So we'll see. Texas, Herman, new first-year coach at Texas. That's a big rivalry game. A lot of emotions go into that. Oklahoma can't go in there, a sad puppy with a tail in between their legs because Texas is known to play well in these games.
Right.
And a couple of years ago when Oklahoma did go to the playoffs, Texas actually beat them.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll see.
Who else we got?
OU's first win of the year, obviously, against Ohio State. Ohio State's only loss of the season to that Oklahoma team. They still play Penn State, so if they can put out a strong performance in that, it'd be great. They still play Michigan, however, Michigan now has its one loss to Michigan State. So that kind of deducts from that being a big game now because they have one loss as well. But if they can go out and beat Penn State, they have a strong showing. I think that could help catapult them back into one of those top 4 spots.
Yeah, Ohio State has a road ahead. They still have to play Penn State, which is in the opposite side of their division. They still have to play Michigan, and they have to play Michigan State. So they got some big games left and some big marquee matchups for the Big Ten. We'll see what that all comes out to be. But I think Ohio State not having a quarterback, and it doesn't really hurt them in the Big Ten, but not having a quarterback. JT Barrett is, obviously he's won a national championship. Right. He wasn't a starting quarterback at the time, and he just hasn't played up to his height. And maybe there's some new things. I know Tom Herman, who's now in Houston, was the offensive coordinator when they won the national championship. So we'll see. There's still a lot of football to be played, but those two teams, Oklahoma and Ohio State, have to win out.
Yeah, for sure. I think the most relevant one-loss team for still to be in a playoff contention is Auburn. Their one loss is to Alabama, which
Clemson. Yeah, but they still have Alabama.
Look at A right there.
Yeah.
Yes, and you still have Alabama. So if you can go out and you can compete well against Alabama, your name's still got to be thrown up there.
Yeah. Jared Stidham is leading the Auburn Tigers to a 4-1 start. Played a tough game against Clemson. Clemson is clearly, Alabama and Clemson are clearly the best two teams in the nation. It doesn't seem like there's anyone else that's close. So we'll see what Auburn does. I think they play LSU this weekend, which is a big game. I know LSU lost to Troy. There's still D1 SEC talent at LSU. Right. And this game is an opportunity for LSU to say, hey, what are we going to be defined as? Are we going to be defined as the team that lost to Troy and just laid down the rest of the season? They came back and they beat a Florida team last week, which is not playing great football either. But this is an opportunity for Auburn Tigers to get after.
They still play Georgia as well, so
I know.
They've got big games where they can really showcase their talent.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jared Stidham.
Former Baylor Bear, Jared Stidham.
Turning it around for that season.
Yeah.
USC, one-loss team. I almost don't want to put them on there because I still feel like they should have more losses.
Yeah.
They squeak by, and so they have to go to Notre Dame in South Bend, and they're not going to win that.
You don't think so?
No.
Caroline said it first. I haven't heard anyone else say it. Notre Dame, they have some issues. Their game is always
so does USC.
always Sam Darnold, he's a great quarterback. He's just not playing great this year. Yeah. He's turning over the ball left and right. He's not taking care of the ball in situation. In Washington State, they went up there and Pullman. I think it's Pullman, Washington, and Coach Leach is is one of the best in the business at being able to spread the ball out, pass the ball down the field, and win games. And Washington State's a really good team, and actually they beat an Oregon team who was playing some good ball with New Year head coach Willie Taggart. So USC, I don't think they have a chance. They still got some games to win.
Yeah.
Very impressed with their game last week against Oregon State. They handled business, and we'll see what happens as their year goes on. It's always funny because some years they bypass some of the Pac-12 North teams, and they get away with going to the Pac-12 championship game and then win it. So there's a lot of football left in the Pac-12. A lot of teams that can emerge as the leaders in that conference.
Yeah. On to Notre Dame. Their one loss is to Georgia. And, Notre Dame still, they play road games against Miami and Stanford.
I like Miami.
Yeah.
They go to Stanford?
Pretty sure.
And
Maybe they play Stanford at home. But they're for sure on the road for Miami.
And they have USC.
No.
Is Notre Dame playing
Yes.
USC? Yeah. Come on now.
But that one's at home.
There's a lot of football left for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Notre Dame is going to probably be the first one loss team out of it.
Yeah.
Just because I don't think they can
squeak by through that.
they can win those 3 games.
Yeah,
Notre Dame, and they need big games like this because they don't have a conference,
Right.
and so they need to be able to beat USC, a good Stanford, and a good Miami. And all 3 of those teams are playing really well right now.
Yeah.
We'll see what the Fighting Irish can do. I like Oklahoma State. Your next team,
Yeah.
one loss. Baylor has a big game against them this weekend. I think, Go Pokes are going to, have fun hitting the side of that wall and that stadium there in Stillwater. I really do not think that the committee will take a lot away from Oklahoma State with that TCU loss, because TCU went in there and handled business.
Right.
They forced turnovers, but also Oklahoma State went on the road the very next week and beat a undefeated Texas Tech team who's playing really good ball right now as well.
Right.
A lot of big marquee games in the Big 12 to finish out the year, but TCU, Tech, Oklahoma State, and even Texas, although they have 2 non-conference losses, they still have a opportunity to make a run in the Big 12 as Big 12 champions. So that's
Still in it.
if they win Big 12, they're not going to go to the playoffs because of 2 losses.
Yeah.
I just don't think we'll have that happen.
North Carolina State, their one loss is South Carolina, which that one hurts because South Carolina hasn't had. I mean, they have really stingy defense.
Yeah.
However, they're not up there with the highest of the highs, so that loss hurts.
South Carolina started off really, really good, and then their star receiver got hurt.
Yeah.
So he's out for the year. Their offense is completely different without him, and it just hurts them to be able to move the ball up and down the field. That's where their struggle has been. They had a big game last weekend that they won. But,
signature wins against Louisville.
yeah. So North Carolina State, we talked about them last week. They still have to play. Clemson, and then they have another big game late in the season. I cannot remember who it's against, but they have a pretty big game that's going to challenge them.
Yeah.
Their quarterback is playing lights out, and he was the better man against Louisville last week, even though they played Heisman, Lamar Jackson, who's just completely fell off. He's still playing at a high level, but Louisville receivers are not helping him at all. What is up with him? I still like Lamar Jackson.
He's a great ball player, but
He's forcing more things because his receivers are not doing the job of catching the ball. So we'll see. We'll see what that looks like.
we touched on this in black and white.
Before we move on, so just talk about some of these teams. Playoffs in 2014 was Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama, and Florida State. Florida State was the only undefeated team. That was the year that Jameis Winston and the Seminoles just kept coming back late in the games and winning games. You're like, how do they just keep coming back? They went up to play against Oregon, and Oregon smacked them. Yeah. Oregon goes on to the national championship. Ohio State gets beat by Alabama gets beat by Ohio State. They both go and play Ohio State, wins their game against Oregon. That loss, Alabama's loss was week 6 against Ole Miss. Ohio State loss was week 2 against Virginia Tech. And Oregon's loss was week 6 against Arizona. The next year we have Clemson, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Michigan State. Michigan State, all these losses have been week 6, and they this past weekend, and then they went on and won. Except last year, 2015, Michigan State lost week 10 against Nebraska in Lincoln. So late game, but they went on and played in the Big Ten championship game, won that, and then they got into the playoffs, and Alabama spanked them 0, no points. Alabama last year was the only undefeated team. They come in at 13-0, but Clemson, Ohio State, Washington, they all lost games. Clemson lost week 11 at home against Pitt. But what they were able to do is go ahead and win the ACC championship. Right. And then there was really no one else, one-loss team that was outside in 5 and 6. Penn State was 10-2, Michigan was 10-2. But the first year, Baylor and TCU, this is a comeback game. Baylor comes out and beat TCU 61-58. Baylor goes to West Virginia next week. Letdown performance. We lose. TCU goes to West Virginia later in the season. They win. And so TCU's ranked like 4, Baylor's ranked 5, and we're arguing, well, we should be in the playoff because they lost to us and blah, blah, blah. We're bickering. You know, it's one of those things that we're arguing in front of Mom, and Mom's just saying, stop arguing. And Mom just takes the toy away from us. And so the playoff committee just said, you know what, none of y'all are going to play in it if y'all don't want to play nicely. And
I still blame Bob Bowlesby for that.
Yeah, Bob Bowlesby.
Co-champions when the whole point of the Big 12 is one true champion.
Yeah.
I will never forget. He's on the field, and we rushed the field, obviously, after that game. He's on the field, and he walks right by me, and I said, "You suck, sir."
You said it to him?
Yes, and he looked at me like a sad grandpa, and then I said, I'm sorry.
He looked at you like, you're a Baylor student, and you haven't really faced real life.
I was like, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. You know, the picture I have of Bob is him with the shrugged shoulders, looking at our brows like, you know, what can I do? You know,
it's always
yeah. So that definitely costs us. But anyways, let's go right into our
proving a point that one doesn't necessarily mean done.
And the Big 12 and the playoff committee like, hey, the Big 12 needs a championship game. Yeah. And then was it Ohio State that didn't go to the championship game last year? And they went to the playoffs, and now they're saying that we really don't need a championship game. The Big 12, I like it. I love it. I wish Oklahoma could win. Yeah, I do want some more. I wish Oklahoma would have beat Iowa State. Yeah. Because it makes the Big 12 look bad when we cannot win games we're supposed to win. Now, if Oklahoma loses to TCU and they're 11-1 and their only loss against TCU, it's better for the conference. But when they get beat up, I mean, it's going to be hard to beat.
Always has a way of cannibalizing itself.
Well, we played everyone. Yes. So, everyone, it's a conference game. You know, one of the things I learned in the NFL is when we played conference games, like the intensity was so much different than playing a regular game. I mean, Seahawks were really good. I think they may have went to the Super Bowl the year I played. You okay?
Yeah, there's
one. We're working on some stuff here. But I think they might have went to the Super Bowl the year we played them, and we beat them one game. And I'm just thinking, like, we stopped Marshawn Lynch, we slowed down Russell Wilson, and our offense played well enough to win the game. We go to San Fran, and they have Alex Smith. We knock him out of the game, and that was his last game in the 49ers uniform. We go to Arizona and beat it's just like, how do these teams? Rams were not good when I was there. They're good now. They got a really good young coach. I think he's the youngest coach in the NFL, and he's playing really good ball. They beat the Dallas Cowboys. Woo woo, go Philly, fly Eagles fly.
Okay.
But anyways, back to college football. Conference games are a lot different.
Yeah.
That's why Ole Miss has beaten Alabama 2 of the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And obviously Alabama got them this year,
Yeah.
66-3.
They made up for a lost
Yeah,
time.
we're not going to have that happen again. So, anyways, let's go on to our next segment. Hype or no hype? What we got?
Hype or no hype? Like I was saying, we touched on Miami. Obviously coming off a monumental win against Florida State this past weekend, punching it in with 11 seconds left in the game, 23 yards. I mean, they proved that they can carry the momentum and that they're a brand new team.
I like Mark Richt.
Yeah.
I think he facing the Giants. It's a movie, Christian movie. Horrible acting. Horrible acting. If you can suffer through the acting, it's a really good movie about overcoming adversity as a Christian and playing sports. And so it's a really, really good story. Mark Richt, I think he's in that movie and he gives a pep talk or he prays for the team. The guy is a solid man.
Yeah.
And did nothing but win at Georgia. He just didn't win big games.
Yeah.
The first 7 seasons at Georgia, he went 25-13 against ranked opponents. The next 8 seasons, he went 14-23 against ranked opponents. He won 5 or 6 SEC East championships, 2 SEC championships, none of which were against Alabama with Nick Saban. And he went to the SEC title game in 13, 14, 15. But for 3 years in a row, I don't know if those years may be confusing me, but Missouri goes into the SEC East
Right.
and wins 2 years in a row. And so like, Missouri's middle of the pack in the Big 12. A&M goes in the Big SEC and shakes things up as well. But he had 10 9-win seasons at Georgia. Did nothing but win. The year he was, he parted ways with Georgia, they were 9-3. And they parted ways with him. He goes to Miami, and obviously, there's recruits down in South Florida. Recruited his tail off. Had a couple of games early this year that were postponed because of the hurricane. He got a big game against Georgia Tech this week, but he's done nothing but win there as well.
Yeah.
Now he's 4-0, beat a good Duke team on the road on a weeknight game. So my thing is the climate of winning big games, especially in the SEC, it's hard to do because you're expected to beat Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide every year.
Yeah.
And that's a very, very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And they just put unrealistic expectations on it. I believe in all the hype Miami has. Now, they have some big games later on this year. I think they play they'll win their conference, their division, because it's a cakewalk.
Yeah.
But then they'll have to go and play.
Their leading rusher is out for the rest of the season, so it'll be interesting.
They have to play
see if
Clemson.
that affects them.
Yeah. If Miami loses a game, so talking about one-loss teams, if Miami loses a game and they go into the championship game with 1 loss and they beat Clemson, Miami has just stamped their ticket to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Regardless, quote me, this is week 7, October the 10th. If they lose a game and they beat Clemson in the ACC championship game,
They get in.
they get in. Oh yeah, definitely over Clemson because you got to win that game. But regardless of whatever happens else in the country, they have just submitted. If they're like number 10 and they're playing Clemson, they beat 10. They're going to jump all the way up into the top 4. The committee's not going to look past beating the most dominant defense in the country in the Clemson Tigers. So if you beat them, I think you submit your ticket. And then the second team is Washington State, which you talked about earlier.
Yeah.
I love Mike Leach.
Yeah. 6-0 for the first time since 2001.
I know.
Their defense is stingy.
I know. I love Luke Falk is playing well. The problem I have with it's hard to win championship games without a running back. And the running back, Jamal Morrow, he only has 288 yards rushing on the season. But Mike Leach is a very, very intelligent coach, and he knows how to give his athletes balls in space. So he has 179 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. So he's a bell cow. He has almost 500 yards total offense himself, and he has 7 touchdowns, passing and receiving. Mike Leach will utilize this guy. He will make him what he needs him to be. I'm just iffy on not having a run game when you need a run game.
Right.
Mike Leach said last week he don't care about not winning time of possession. And his philosophy was that I don't have to win time of possession because the quarterback is only tickling the center's butt when he's under there waiting for the clock to run out, which I thought that was a revelation to me because I played quarterback in high school, and I don't think I ever tickled Michael Davis' butt. But, maybe some quarterbacks do that. He's like, time does not win games. He said plays do. And if you go out there and you run plays and you win a battle in a play, that's how you win games. But you don't win games by holding the ball. And so I thought it was an interesting caveat, especially the tickling part. But I like Mike Leach. They got some big games left as well, but and they have to play Washington.
Yeah.
So we'll see. They beat Oregon last week. But talking about Oregon, let's go on our next segment, Pass the Sticks. Not Oregon, but Oregon State. Oregon State is garbage.
To put it lightly.
Yeah. I mean, if there's 2 burning trash cans side by side, it would probably be Oregon State and Baylor.
Oh, no.
Yeah. One's orange and one's green. And it doesn't matter. I mean, I think when Hurricane Harvey hit, there were like 2 trash cans rolling down the street. It was like fighting for last place. It may be Oregon State and Baylor. And I can say that because I played at Baylor. And I know a lot of the guys, I know the coaches. All jokes aside, we still need to win football games.
Yeah.
But Oregon Oregon State under Gary Anderson never won a road game. He had $12.4 million that was going to be paid out to him. And he's like, listen, I can't win here, bro. Like, you go get someone else. But I can't win here. And he walked away from $12.4 million. It's hard to win. Mike Riley was probably the most successful coach at Oregon State. He had a couple of 9-win seasons. Now he's at Lincoln, Nebraska, and he's having trouble there. But in 2015, they went 2-10, 0-9 in conference, 4-8, 3-6 in conference, and they started out this year 1-5. So
okay, Baylor's not that much of a dumpster fire.
they're not. But I'm sure when Gary Anderson came in, their fans were much like Baylor. Hey, this is a rebuilding, trust the process.
Yeah.
2-10 year. We can do that. Then next year's 4-8. Like, okay, that's better than last year. And then you have this regret. So I know Matt Rule has a long contract, 7-year contract, and he's going to get paid. But will some of those things still come up like, hey, well, you just can't not win games?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, head coaches are judged by winning games. My favorite Pass the Sticks. LSU is not on it this week for some reason, so I'm really happy about that. My favorite Pass the Sticks has to be Baker Mayfield versus Joel Lanning. I love it. Who is your daddy? Daddy Caddy. So let's talk about Joel Lanning. Joel Lanning was a quarterback at Iowa State for the last 3 years. Senior guy, leader, captain on the team, competitor. I mean, he's taken shots, he's gotten back up and played his heart out for the Cyclones. Last week, he played linebacker. Not last week, a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. They had a bye week since then. Played linebacker against Texas.
Yeah.
20 tackles against Texas. Didn't play quarterback. The quarterback had, for Iowa State, I can't remember his name, but this guy had long hair and he threw the balls in the stands.
Yeah.
So, like, if you were a kid at the game, that's the game you want to go to because you're gonna catch the football. Yeah, and then just run out with it because Iowa State wasn't doing anything with the football, so you're fine with that. And I have an email coming through. But anyways, Joe Lanning last week had 25 passing yards, which is not a lot for a linebacker,
right?
Obviously. He had 9 rushes for 35 yards, which is not a lot for a linebacker. He had a fumble recovery, 8 tackles, 4 solo, 1 sack against Baker Mayfield. Now, I've never in my life seen this. And maybe it happened back in the day. And I'm sure it happens. It's very customary in high school where a guy plays, he's an athlete, and he plays quarterback. Yeah. I've never seen a college quarterback get sacked by a college quarterback because rarely they're just not on the field at the same time. But the fact that Baker Mayfield got sacked by Joe Lennon made my day. And then Joe Lennon got up and he did the "you can't see me" face. Like, dude was balling out of control.
Yeah.
He had 8 tackles. To put that in perspective, we tackled Baker Mayfield really well when Baylor played him. The most tackles that anyone had on our team when we played Oklahoma was by Clay Johnston. He had 7 tackles. That means the quarterback really got after you, bro. So, Baker Mayfield, do me one favor. Don't let Sam Ellinger or Shane Buechele tackle you this week. Because if you do that, I promise you, bro, you're not winning the Heisman. You probably won't win the Heisman anyways, but I hope you are watching. And I know you block people left and right on Twitter, so no love lost. Boomer Sooner. The problem with Oklahoma and the Sooners is that their offense cannot generate plays late in the game against Iowa State. And the reason is because they depend so much on Baker Mayfield's creativity.
Yeah.
So when he is in the pocket for 10 seconds, he has all the time in the world to look around and find out who he wants to pass the ball to. It's easy for him to actually go out there, and create a play.
Right.
Iowa State defense said, you know what? We're going to rush me. We're going to have a spy, and we're going to drop 7 people in the coverage, and we're just going to hope and pray that we can contain Baker Mayfield, and they did that. And they got after him, and, I mean, credit Iowa State and their coaching staff, but Oklahoma, you have to win, especially playing a linebacker at quarterback and a backup quarterback, and you're clearly the better team. But kudos to Iowa State.
Going into our matchups of the week,
let's
we can go ahead and touch on OU and Texas since we're so focused on OU right now. Obviously, super emotional game every year.
A lot of notes.
This is all from the Dome.
Yeah.
For Terrance.
Yeah.
So we got OU and Texas obviously this weekend at the fair. Oh, good times.
I know.
Need to Fletcher's pointed out.
Yeah. I might need to go out there and shoot some hoops. I think last year I spent like $7,000 trying to make that basketball.
Basketballs are so aired up.
I know you got to shoot it out. You got to shoot like what's the dude from the Wizards? He had a really high arch. Yeah, you have to shoot like it's a rainbow. It literally goes in or it doesn't go in. And
but they're so fun.
They're a lot of fun, but you have to pick the right people. And I got in cool with one guy. I said, "Hey, man, I'm a former guy, you know." And so he let me get a couple extra shots, and I made them. And
get some stuffed animals.
Yeah, I was able to bring home a bear, which Jenny hates.
Oh, no.
I think she threw it away. And then we had like a little minion, which a kid, our neighbor, when we moved, our neighbor saw it, and he's like, "I want it." And I was like, "Perfect." Okay. I mean, less stuff for us to take. But I think Oklahoma wins this game. Texas is playing really good on defense. They just don't have any offense. They had offense against Kansas State with,
I think Ellinger proved he should get the starting role. And I think what he did a really good job at was seeing the blitz coming and creating the running lane. And so for this OU game, I don't think that lane will be as easy for him as it was against K-State.
Yeah.
But I think, OU gave up so many big defensive plays that, it could be an interesting game. I think OU does win because they'll be playing hopefully pretty angry after losing to Iowa State.
They better not come in with the...
But I think it could be interesting.
I think it will be interesting. I still have Oklahoma winning this game. Texas defense is going to play really, really good. Baker Mayfield is going to be the difference maker.
Yeah.
Him and Shane Buechele, they're going to have to give the ball to Colin Johnson very, very early against that OU secondary, which Baylor exploited.
Yeah.
And I would say exploited late in the game as well last weekend. Texas, they have to be able to run the ball. They have to be able to balance out their team. And they can't just keep running the ball with Shane Buechele. He's just not the running quarterback type that can take the hits that he's been taking.
Yeah.
He's smart with the ball. He's playing really good ball. I just think Oklahoma, they finally get back to who they are, running the ball, using play action to get the linebackers cheated up, throwing the ball over to the big fullback Flowers and their athletic tight end, and making some quick, simple throws for Baker Mayfield to get the ball out of his hand. You can't sit in the pocket against Texas because their defensive line is just probably the best defensive line in the conference.
Yeah.
So.
Then we got the Battle of the Purples.
Yeah,
That's what I'm calling that.
I like it.
K-State versus TCU.
Yeah.
You know, Gary Patterson is coming off of the past few seasons, 3 losing seasons, and it's 28-2. He has turned this TCU team totally around, and they are playing lights out football right now. Kenny Hill last week ran, caught, and threw for a touchdown.
Yeah, and I think they said it's, I don't think anyone has done that in a while. Kenny Hill played a great game.
Yeah.
The throwback to the quarterback throwback he had, he spins out of a tackle. Offensive lineman has to make that block, but Kenny Hill's athletic, spins out of a tackle, and he goes for a touchdown. He played an excellent game. He protected the ball. And West Virginia, they're a good football team. I hate that they have 2 losses. No, but TCU played West Virginia last week. West Virginia's a good football team, and TCU handled business. Kansas State, their offense is they don't have enough firepower on the offense to be able to win games. And TCU goes up there, they run the ball well.
TCU is firepower.
Yeah, they go up there and run the ball well, and they force Kansas State to get behind early, and TCU handles business, comes back home to get ready for another Big 12 game.
Yeah.
So I got K-State losing at home in Manhattan. It will be loud for the TCU Horned Frogs, but TCU will win that game.
Yeah.
Gary Patterson is not about to let them down this week.
Right.
Maybe another week, but not this week. So we'll see.
Then we've got Tech and West Virginia. So last year, West Virginia just absolutely handled Tech, even though they have a super efficient offense. And I think the most interesting thing is this year, West Virginia's defense is actually a spot behind Tech's in the Big 12 conference, at least. So,
Tech is playing better defense.
Yeah.
They went up and scored, I think, 65 points against Kansas last week. Nick Shimmy Nick.
Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy.
He is playing really, really good ball.
Yeah. Not to say that
they go to West Virginia.
Right.
It's hard to win in Morgantown.
Yeah.
If Texas Tech wins this game, I got West Virginia winning, but I think Texas Tech is the second best team in the conference.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Ask me about that later, how the season goes.
After this game.
Yeah, I think Texas Tech is.
This is going to be a really good game.
I think so too. I think it's the biggest game to watch in the Big 12 this week.
Yeah. For sure.
A lot of implications. Both teams have 1 loss in the conference.
Right.
Another loss will put them, pretty much will kick them out of the Big 12 championship race. But we'll see. I think it's hard to win in Morgantown. The fans are burning couches, burning people, burning animals. Those Mountaineers are crazy. You never know about those. And so I think West Virginia plays a very, very close game. I won't be surprised if Texas Tech wins, but I think West Virginia wins this one.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And our last matchup, well, for the Big 12 at least, Baylor and Oklahoma State. So Baylor has actually won the last 3 matchups, so they're probably going to win this week.
Yeah,
too, right?
Baylor's probably thinking, we won the last 3. We can have this
We've
one.
got
Okay.
their number.
Yeah. In order for Baylor to win, they have to stop Justice Hill and J.D. King, the 2 running backs, and make Oklahoma State very one-dimensional. And that's what TCU was able to do. They were able to shut down the run game and force Mason Rudolph to throw the ball. And he had 2 turnovers, 2 interceptions, and he had a fumble. All 3 lost turnovers. And if Baylor wants to win, that's what they have to do. I think this is the best chance for Baylor to win this game because they play more relaxed against a team that they don't have any reason to be in the game with. So you're going up there, you're playing in Stillwater. You're not expected to win the game. You're not expected to play great. So you just happen to play great in the meantime. I think Oklahoma State wins this game easily. But I can see Baylor playing a really, really good game, solid game plan, opening up the offense, just saying, hey, go out there and be athletes. Right. Go out there and play. But you got to stop the run.
You were talking about, is it Mike Leach? Yeah, Mike Leach talking about time of possession. I saw one thing. Baylor's average scoring touchdown drive is 1 minute and 7 seconds. If they could have any more time of possession to keep their offense on the field, and that's what I disagree with that statement, because
Mike Leach's statement?
Yes.
I'm sure 32 NFL coaches disagree with it too.
Well, you keep the ball longer because they're getting touchdown drives, obviously.
I get it, but Mike Leach is saying, who cares about time of possession? He said, I basically don't care. He said, coach has been talking about this ever since I got into coaching. He doesn't care about time of possession. And the reason why he's saying, you can hold the ball for 40 seconds each play. If you don't get a first down, you just held the ball for 2 minutes, but your offense is not moving. He's saying my offense is going to get up and down the field no matter how long we have the ball.
Yeah.
And I think it's obviously a different way of looking at it, but I think he's saying the same thing. You can hold the ball forever if you're not scoring. Yeah. You can have 40 minutes time possession, and I think, when we played Oklahoma, I think we held the ball 2/3 of the game. Oklahoma didn't hold the ball long, and next thing you know, but they still won. And so that's what Mike Lee said. It doesn't matter. Yeah, time of possession is a good indicator of you wearing down the defense, or you're holding on to the ball, or you're getting first downs, and you're moving up and down the field. Because the battlefield position, you get in the field goal, red zone, you kick field goals, you can win games. You have better opportunity to score to win games. But I kind of like the idea that time of possession is one of those things that coaches talk about, and it doesn't matter time of possession if you're not getting an end zone. Because scores win the football game, not time.
When we had Art Briles, I would agree with you.
When we had Art Briles,
it's a different time.
It's a much different time and a much different conversation.
Jim McHale Hasty is Jim McHale.
Jamichael? Jay McHale. Jay McHale Hasty is back. Terrance Williams is back this week. I think.
Yeah, so it will actually be the first time Baylor has had a full back.
A full stable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, I would think would help increase the time of possession.
If we can run the ball?
Yeah.
We don't have an offensive line. When I say we, I need to say Baylor because it's a show. I don't play for Baylor anymore. But Baylor needs to be able to block and pass.
Yeah.
I mean, block running plays, and then they need to be able to protect and pass game. And if you cannot do that, I don't care if you have Deion Sanders, not Deion Sanders, Barry Sanders, and Adrian Peterson, both in their prime, you got to be able to protect them and allow them to get up to the second level. If they're getting tackled in the backfield, it's the exact same thing that happened in Zeke and Dallas. Offensive line is just, they're good. They're just atrocious because they're saying, we know Dak is a good quarterback, but last year y'all won because Zeke was running the ball well. So if we can stop the running game and put more emphasis on Dak playing a really, really good game and beating us, then we make you one-dimensional. And Baylor's been one-dimensional all season because we cannot run the ball behind this offensive line. And that's his own scheme. I mean, I see these guys are catching and grabbing. They're taking a bunch of false steps up front. They're not getting their pads low. They're not shooting their hips. And when you do that, and the defensive linemen, almost, their game plan is, dummy proof. Put your hand in the dirt, go get the other guy. This is your guy. So they're not doing all that thinking. They're just athletic freaks on the other end of the ball, other side of the ball. They're just playing some football and going out there and getting it. So our running back, Baylor's running back, do come back this week, but I do not think it's a big enough factor. Unless we can run downhill. We run sideline to sideline, it's a wrap. We got to be able to run downhill. There's another game in the Big 12, Kansas and Iowa State, which is not a game since Iowa State is basically second in the Big 12 right now. I mean, jeez.
Okay, really?
Yeah, it's a game. I think Iowa State is picked to win by 35. So if Last time they were, spitting. Last time they were in a game of 35 plus or minus, they won. So if they lose against Kansas, maybe Joel Hannon and the Iowa State Cyclones will be on my pass the sticks next week. Thank you for a great show. I know we went over time today. We were about 45 minutes.
Wow.
But we had a lot of fun. I hope you stay and enjoy. This is week 7 college football, week 4 of. So thank you so much.
Thanks, y'all.
We'll see you later. Any closing remarks?
Hopefully the audio and video is better.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to get Doug on that next time. So.
Come to Three Nations Brewing.
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
Galvin. Come to Three Nations. Yeah, oh, you have? Oh, no, he got a Three Nation hat on. I'm going to have to give me a Three Nation hat. But you see the little logo right here? No, right here. It looks weird. But anyways, we're getting off here because we just wasted 2 minutes of your life that you will not get back. So thank you for the audience as well. Sean, you're always great. Have a good one.